Good morning, boys and girls. Driver02 here, and coming back at you for another day of Vlogmas. I think I'm up to day 4 now, and starting off with my coffee junkie. And today's flavor is London Fog. So let's try that. That's different. I don't know about that. Yeah, that's more of a tea flavor, I think, but that's weird for coffee, to be honest. That's like sweet and acidic? I don't know, that's strange. I don't know about that one. Huh. And the saying of the day is, in the end, it's not the number of years in your life that count, but it's the life in your years that matter. That's quite true. Some people go through life and never do a thing, and, you know, some people in their early 20s live more than some people ever do. So, yeah, good saying. All right, we're going to start off out in my eBay office, and I'll tell you what my plan is for the day, and then we'll go from there. So I'm just getting ready to start my day, and I have a couple sales. One is waiting on payment, and the other is one of those clocks that I will probably need to put together tonight. So today I have to go do a side job, a little bit of concrete forming, and the weather's not bad out, but it kind of looks like it might be rainy. It's a little bit muddy out. It's warm and damp. It's about 10 degrees Celsius, which is pretty good for early December. And that's good because, I mean, pretty soon the temperature will not be in my favor for working outside. But I have a bit of an issue with my foot today. So last week I got a little cooking oil burn on top, and it blistered, and it was okay. It was painful that night, but like it was okay otherwise. Next day or two, and then I wore my work boots, and the steel toe, the edge of it actually dug right in, and it popped the blister, which I mean isn't great. But then when I pulled my sock off that night, the popped skin on the blister had stuck to the sock, and it tore the skin when I pulled the sock off. It stuck to it, and well, that was painful, and so it opened up and was bleeding, and it's right in the spot where your foot is like bending as you're walking, kind of, like. So it's starting to heal, but I'm a little concerned about wearing my boots today. So I guess we'll have to see. Maybe I'll just double bandage it, and because I gotta wear the boots. If I wear shoes or something, my feet are gonna get wet, and I do not want that to happen right now. And I can't really put this job off, so I gotta go and do it. So that's where I'm at today. Fingers crossed I'll be okay. Hopefully it'll continue to heal and scab over, and I won't have any infection or anything. But it's just one of those things. Yeah, I tried to rest my foot for a couple days. And it's too bad because I like to do a lot of walking as well, and that's, definitely can't walk in my boots, and just, even in your normal shoes, it's a little irritating, but, I can walk, but, I probably shouldn't be pushing it. And so the plan will be, we'll come back tonight, come back here, and I'll probably try and showcase something in the shop for you guys tonight. And that's probably what I'll do most nights. And then also, once I get a nice day outside, we can take a look at some of my newer projects outside. And once I get all my Christmas decorations and stuff up, and even the decorations inside, I'll show you guys that, because that will definitely go along with Vlogmas. And yeah, and then I'll just try and showcase something each night, I guess. But maybe tonight it'll actually be that clock I need to put together. Maybe we can do a couple things, but probably getting too ambitious now, because I feel like it's going to be a long day. So I got to get going now, but I will catch up with you guys later. Okay, and we are back. So that was a really long day for me. I didn't even get around to building that clock, and it's probably going on for 11 o'clock at night now. It's after 10 anyway. I don't even know if it's clock's not right anyways, but that's saying it's almost quarter to 10. Yeah. Maybe quarter to 11. Oh, maybe that is right. Maybe it's an hour off. So it's probably pretty close. Anyways, very rough day. I was very tired. Ran out of concrete on what we were doing. That's okay. But now it's going to be another day to finish up. It wasn't that much. It's only like, oh, I don't know. It's only a few yards of concrete, but still doing it, mixing it by yourself is, it's tough, right? It's not that bad, but just nothing was ready, and it was wet and muddy, and I got soaked. It's a good thing I wore my boots because they kept my feet dry. My foot is okay. It's a bit sore, but the fact that I double bandaged the sore spot, it prevented that edge of the steel toe from digging in, because it's right at the edge of that steel toe, and that's I think what did the most damage last week to it. So anyways, I promised we would do something in the shop tonight, so well, here's what I'll show you. So over here in this jumbled mess of a shop, I've got my homemade aluminum forge. So it's made out of just a turkey fryer, and the inner core is cast out of refractory, and this is just inside like a piece of stovepipe, and then I ended up wrapping it with some more insulation, and I put the tin on the outside just to insulate it more, and it works pretty good. So you did see, well, earlier this year, I mean, I did post a quick clip of my first pour of the season, and that's the remnants of it in there. But I didn't quite use enough aluminum, and then I ended up dropping the crucible. And I've got these two things made up here. And this is just out of an old a drum brake spring tool. I rebent it to fit, kind of fit the crucible. And I've also got this one. This is the one I had to use that night, and it's not really meant for what I was doing, but I couldn't find this one at the time. And so I quickly just ground the teeth off of this, because this is like an oil filter wrench. I ground the teeth off, and I mean, that can work, but it didn't work very good. But this is also a brand new crucible. I don't really want to touch it, but graphite's not the best thing to get on your hands. Let's see. There's a way to do that. Oh, I swear. You know what? I need two hands to do it. That's why I'm struggling. But this thing is new. And it's roughly the same size as my old crucibles. But because it's a lot thicker and it's very tapered and dished at the bottom, I realized I need to have it full, like pretty much to the top, to get the same amount of aluminum out of, like, compared to my old crucible. And here's one of them. I was just using carbon steel. This is from last year. And I've welded a new base on it at some point, and I had to replace the base on, I've got two like that, and I've had to replace the bottoms twice. But there's one of the old bases, and I think it was literally having almost like a thermite kind of reaction between the iron and the aluminum. And it melted from the inside out. And I remember this night it actually dumped molten aluminum right down in the bottom of the burner. And it put the flame out. I didn't know what was going on at first. Kept trying to relight it, and then I noticed molten aluminum dripping down on the floor, and probably down on these, because usually they sit under there. I don't know what those are doing under there. But I thought it was pretty interesting that these were like disintegrating so fast, and that's carbon steel being used to melt aluminum. So, I mean, I don't know if there's any experts out there, but to me, that's pretty remarkable. I think this one here, I think I got last year probably maybe three runs out of this. And that happened. And you see that was like an 1/8 inch thick. And so then one of the newer ones, I used a piece of 1/4 inch, or that might even be 3/8 thick steel on that one. But the other problem is because there's whatever kind of reaction is going on in there. It's with heat and temperature, the carbon steel and the aluminum are reacting with each other. Maybe it's like a galvanic reaction, but it goes so porous that it makes it almost impossible to then get the slag out. And I had some success. Like when they're fresh, you can get the slag out pretty easily. But after 1 or 2 fires, it's locked in there, and you can't. It's almost impossible to get it out. And that's when I started cutting the bottoms off. You can see I cut very little into the wall of the crucible just to get the bottom off, and started repairing them, thinking, oh, you know, I'll just have to repair them. But then I realized it's like an ongoing thing. That's some kind of reaction that makes carbon steel not a good material for melting aluminum, for using it as your crucible. And so just to get myself going again this year, doing some aluminum smelting, I bought that graphite crucible off Amazon. And I think my crucibles were roughly 4-inch diameter, and so I bought a roughly 4-inch diameter graphite one, but ends up that it's much smaller internally, which is okay. I can still work with that. But I think I would like to, in the future, make some more homemade crucibles, just like the ones I made before, because I made them with a hook on the bottom there and the 2 hooks on top. So, you know, I made up all the tools for picking them up and pouring them super easily, versus struggling with like those plier things like in that YouTube short I posted. So I do want to make some more, but I think I'll go ahead and TIG weld some out of stainless steel and try that. Hopefully I'll have much less reactivity between the aluminum and stainless steel. I think that might work. I mean, the carbon steel works, it just doesn't work very good, and it's kind of like a one-time thing. And I mean, that's fine. It's all just for fun, and it's all a learning experience too, right? So no big deal. And out of maybe 4 or 5 or 6, I can't remember how many times I tried to actually make something like this. I was trying to make up a historic looking plaque. But these are my 2 best attempts from last year. I melted down the other ones, but I made a little note that this was with some wetter sand than I had been previously trying. And so I guess this was drier, but it was still a little bit wet, obviously. And initially I thought this was from steam. But then I did it a little bit wetter, and it came out almost perfect, crystal clear. But if you look, the color is very different. And I realized that this probably had a little bit of brass in it, because I actually tried to melt some brass in this little foundry that I made up, and it just didn't get hot enough. It got the crucible glowing bright red, the whole refractory glowing, and even all the brass was glowing orange, red, whatever, but it just never got hot enough to actually melt. And so, you know, I put the flame out, and I don't know what I did with the brass bits, but they poured out looking just like, you know, they hadn't even melted. They were just blackened a bit after everything had cooled, right? But my only thought is that maybe that crucible still had a bit of, like, essence of brass, for lack of a better term, in it. And somehow I got a little bit of brass mixed in on this pour, and it made it just slightly, like, it looks slightly tarnished, slightly bronzed almost, compared to, you know, compared to a normal aluminum pour. That's what normal aluminum has always looked like. But this one turned out a little bronzy or something. I don't know. And so I'm not quite sure if having that wetter helped, or having the bronze or the brass mixed in there is what made it clearer. But this year I've tried a new sand mixture. It's just normal sand again, damp, but I've also mixed clay into it, and I used real clay right out of the ground that I broke up myself. I made a little mixer in a bucket and got it real fine, put it through a screen so there's no chunks or nothing, and I made myself some pretty close to what I think should be proper, true green sand, I think is what it's actually called. And the first pour, even though it didn't go very good, I mean, it's still, the numbers are pretty clear, except for there, but I think that was probably where I dropped the thing, maybe. I don't know. But I got to do some more experimenting with it before I can, you know, come to a conclusion as to what my best mix ratio of sand, water, clay, and all that is. But it's all for fun, and if I can eventually make some cool looking plaques or something, well, hey, that's something, right? It's also a good little hobby in the winter because, well, you don't have the wood stove going. The Foundry furnace keeps you warm, so it actually throws a ton of heat. It makes all the roofing, the ceiling panels start creaking and cracking. But yeah, it definitely keeps you warm. You got to crack the window, or crack the door, crack a window, just to keep the fresh air in. But it works awesome. So if anyone ever has considered making like a little foundry out of turkey fryer, mine works, and it's not even a very good one. It's pretty, you know, pretty half. So obviously not going to fire it up tonight. It's far too late to get into doing something like that. Takes 45 minutes to an hour for it to get warmed up to the point you can start melting a good amount of material. Like I say, I've only had success melting aluminum in it. Tried brass, tried copper last year. No, not hot enough. I don't know if I can modify the burner to burn hotter. I don't even know if the refractory will hold up to that. But yeah, I'm just learning as I go, having fun. Oh yeah, and this is the lid. And if it sits just on those two iron bars, those two little rebars, then I find it burns the hottest. And it probably just means I should have had a bigger vent in the top. But if you leave it closed, it doesn't burn as hot as when you start to crack the lid open a little bit. And I used to have a thermocouple running just in there, but I actually don't know what I did with that. And there's my tool. That hooks on to the lid. I'm doing it backwards. Hooks on like that. You can lift that off. And then the same tool, if you're using the old style crucible, you lift that up. And to me, that's a much better system. So I want to go back to this style, but for now I'm just going to play around with that one. These don't last forever either, but I'll be interested to see how many burns I can get out of it before it cracks. And you're supposed to sort of not break them in, maybe that's what it's called, but you heat them up slowly and you got to be gentle with them. So especially the first few times. Okay, put our lid back. And then there's one more, oh, this thing. So that's the hook. For when you go to pour, you can hook it on the back of the, if you're using this crucible. Anyways, just thought maybe that would be something of interest. Just one of my many projects, one of my many adventures out here in the shop. But I think I gotta call it at that. It's pretty late. I'm gonna sit up for a bit and go to bed and then start all over again. So happy Vlogmas Day 5, I think I'm at now. I'm a day or two behind, but I'm just gonna do what I can, right? Right, boys and girls? That's all we can do. So thank you very much for watching. Hope you maybe enjoyed a little bit of shop vlogging about the my metal casting foundry, and I guess that's all for now. Until next time, I will see you then.